All right, good evening. It's another edition of World Softball TV. I'm your host, Ryan Wood. And this week it's going to be back to the province of Ontario for another amazing guest. Longtime men's A player, started his men's A career in 2011 as a member of Dilligaff, and then which transformed into the Naturals. One-time silver medalist, one-time bronze medalist. We're going to bring on pitcher extraordinaire and a teammate of mine, James Moszcelt. Mosey, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thanks for having me on here. Just a quick connection there. I never played for Dilligaff.
My apologies. Yeah. I just know that all the guys on the Naturals were Dilligaff. And
a bunch of the core Natural guys are former Dilligaff guys for sure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for clearing the air for me right off the bat here and making me look like a fool on my own show. Much appreciated. You could have just went with it. There is my teammate holding me accountable yet again on another opportunity. Mosey, I've known you for quite a long time because of our mutual friend in Brooksy. I mean, I can't even remember how or when we even met through Brooksy back in the day, but it has been quite a long time.
For sure. I think I date back playing with Nate and some of the Dilligaff guys in the league. That's kind of where I got my start. My dad played Slowpitch. Man, he played for 50 years, I think. His team, Courtney's, was a senior team. I remember running around the diamond, being a little dirt devil. Kind of Slowpitch City had the train and the metal slide and, more trees, wood backstops. And then playing league out at Sportsplex with some of the Dilligaff guys and got started that way. And Brooksy was on that league team playing, and I think he got picked up by the Orr House.
Right.
I don't know if he won the Canadians with the Orr House, but I think he was a pickup for the Orr House, and then quickly moved to the Hench. And I think that's when you and I probably met each other. Is when you and Brooksy moved the Hench together.
It's funny. Brooksy and I met each other for the very first time at my first Canadians in 2001 in Medicine Hat, and he was playing for the Orr House then. And we met in a bar in Medicine Hat and hit it off and had a good time together. So I haven't good guy and haven't stayed in contact with him as much as maybe I should. But with COVID and not going to London as often, you don't you kind of lose touch a little bit. So Brooksy, if you're watching, hopefully the real estate business is doing well.
Yeah, he is doing really well for sure. He's actually now working with his sister and wife, and they're doing really, really well down in London.
Very nice. Well, good for them. Mosey, you're starting Slowpitch. You're an athlete. You've played sports, hockey, baseball, and talk about your baseball background and how it kind of transformed from being a baseball guy into Slowpitch.
You know what? I played a little bit of hardball growing up. I played kind of just for your local neighborhood association. And then really kind of in high school, I think there was enough guys kind of in London. London was a pretty hot spot for Slowpitch. And we formed a kind of a high school, little bit older guys than high school kind of league team and started playing pretty quickly and pretty young, I guess I would say. I was probably like 19, 20 years old, kind of getting a start into Slowpitch. We used to play against guys like Jay Chandler, Roddy, some older, the London guys. The Orr House had a league team at Sportsplex, playing against those guys and just watching those guys out at Slowpitch City. And that's kind of where I got my start and kind of got my itch. I can remember the old Mass teams. I think Bam played on that team, still playing today, which is incredible. Watson, Longer, who ended up being the coach for the Naturals. I can remember watching those guys as a kid and thinking, man, that would be cool to play. And you kind of always try to strive to be, good enough to play against the best. And I think that was always my goal when I got into the game, is to in my competitive nature. I know I'm uber competitive and maybe to a fault, but when I play, I want to win and do what it takes to win and hold guys accountable for that. And I guess, yeah, really, it was that league team. And then, I think Sutz started a team. I was trying to think about this today. Sutz started a team where I think it was called Wallaceburg or Wallace-Town Softball Club. And he threw together a team and gave us T-shirts. And I remember going to play in a couple tournaments with that team. And again, like, we weren't very good, but it was kind of my first taste of, competitive upper A Slowpitch. And then I actually kind of walked away from the game. I went away to get my master's in teaching in Australia. I was gone for about 2 years, and a good friend, Beef, Adam Watson, brought me back to the Hurricanes. They were looking for a couple of guys. We were great friends, and they had a B team. And the Hurricanes, if you know Slow-Pitch around London, they'd been around for a while. And I was really happy to get back into it. I really enjoyed playing with them for a summer, for sure.
It's funny you mention a team like the Hurricanes out of London, because they were always one of the better B teams, right? Like, they always were, they were always good enough to be the top team in B, and then they would never really want to move up to the A level. They were quite content being a B team. Why do you think that was?
I think that they were a close-knit group of guys. Like, again, from an outsider's, and, they welcomed me with open arms, but they were buddies. They were buddies first, and I think they enjoyed being buddies, and I think they kept that. I think their mentality, and I never really asked them about it, but I think their mentality was, we're close friends, we enjoy playing with each other, and we're going to, because I think as you move up, and I think you see that, and that we kind of moved up from the naturals, you kind of have to trim guys out of your roster that are friends, right? And if you're not prepared to do that, you can't stay competitive. So I don't know if they ever came up to A. I think of a team like the Weekend Warriors out of Stratford. Like, they were another great B team, but when they always got bumped to A, they would never pick up anybody that would get rid of friends or teammates, and they would get beat up on in A, right, by the upper teams.
So what's your take on this? I mean, and this is an issue that comes up in the ball circles all the time, where, in Super Series, you've got your divisions, your A, your B, your C, and those C teams that are doing really well are getting bumped up to B, and the B teams that have success are moving up to A. But, like, those B teams, if they're kicking the crap out of everybody in the B level, then I can 100% see the reasoning behind moving up to A. But if you're just a team that has one really good weekend, and next thing you know, you're having to go up and play against the best players in Canada every 2 weeks, what's the point, right? Like, I get, but people don't have that same philosophy and mentality to want to be in A. They're good being B. They want to compete every year in B. And if they win one event and it's provincials, well, why are they forced to move up to A?
Yeah, it's twofold, right? There's two mentalities. Like, there's nothing wrong with a group of guys getting together every weekend, playing competitive ball and enjoying themselves, going down on Richmond Row and having a good time. And then there's a group of guys that want to be able to say, hey, you know what, we're one of the best teams in Canada, and we work hard to do that. That one and done team, like, that wins at provincials and gets bumped, which has happened a few times, and I think they've gotten away from that. Like, I don't think they do that anymore. Where it does help to grow the game is if they bump, 5-6 teams to A, and then they could at least play each other. And then, and to be honest, like, our first year as the Naturals, we got waxed a lot of times by, the O's, I think Yardman were still around at that point, where it took a while for us to get that first big win, and that confidence building. So you have to be prepared to do that, and you got to have a tight-knit group of guys that are willing to stay on, because there's a lot of times where those teams get bumped and they go, well, I'm not coming down from, 2-3 hours away to play 2 or 3 games and then go home, right? Which I don't want.
The competitive aspect there, I mean, some people are content and they want to get the best value for their dollar. And in their eyes, the best value for their dollar is being a B team and competing every weekend in B. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But if you're a dominating team at the B level, then there's no reason why you don't take the jump to the next level.
Well, and I think everybody wants to win right away, right? So that B team that's come up, they want to win, right? So they're not willing to come up, pick up, like in all reality, if you can pick up 2 or 3 guys every year for 3 or 4 years and make your roster better, still keep your core together, keep the train moving forward. That's how I think you can end up being like if you look at Aftershock, right? They're a powerhouse right now, but Aftershock didn't win a tournament for years, right? Like, and then right now they're arguably the best. Well, they are the best team in Canada, right? So, they took lumps.
And that's a lot of it, right? People don't realize the process that you have to go through, and it's no different than, you're a hockey guy. You draft and you develop and you work with your young players, and by the time they've hit their stride, well, look at Colorado. I mean, man, they've drafted well, and now they're a top team in the league, right? And they were a bottom feeder team. What, 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
Sure. Right.
Yeah.
I think we got pretty lucky with the Naturals. We had a core group of guys that had played really high level hardball. Right. We had. I think there were at one point 3 or 4 guys that had college experience, drafted to MLB, right? So guys, and if they hadn't played competitive baseball, they had played competitive something else, right? So that competitive edge was there, and we were younger, right? We were young and willing to put in the work, and it was. We made that transition to A fairly quickly. Like I'm trying to think when we came together. We played a couple of eliminations though. So the way the Naturals started was the Weekend Warriors had a tournament in Stratford every year where a bunch of the London guys, bunch of Dillygaff guys, myself, Brooksy would play. There was a core 11, 12 of us that we played it every summer for 2 or 3 years, and we had a great time, and we won it, I think, twice. And we actually would play against the Woodstock Cubs, which Nebo played on, Winkler played on, and Mitch Latimer.
Okay.
So when the Naturals actually formed, we picked up those 3 guys, and I think the Cubs at the time were playing B as well. They came on board with some of the Dillygaffs. I came. We really only had, I think, 12 or 13 guys when we actually made the jump, maybe 14 at the time. And again, we took our lumps, but we were young, full of piss and vinegar, really, at the time.
Well, talk about that starting ground, the core group, because I mean, I remember in 2011 being on 705 and playing against Naturals, and I mean, we had some good games and good battles. But talk about where you guys were then. And what the goals were. I mean, obviously the goals are always to try to qualify for Canadians, but like, did you guys truly believe when you picked up those few guys from the Cubs that you were there, you were where you needed to be?
I think when we started in A, we had that group of there was, like I said, those 3 or 4 guys from the Cubs, Hef that's still with us, Pio still with us, Cloudy still with us, Chuck still with us. I'm still with us. There's 7 or 8 of us that are still core guys that have never left, and that I think the reality is we thought we had good pieces, right? And again, it was getting over the hump of beating the O's and beating the other the 705, because you guys in the O's battled pretty good, and we would see kind of you guys in this, one of you two in the semifinals, and a lot of the times we came up on the short end, but we just kept grinding, and like you do believe. And one of the things that, it's probably Pio that really held us together. Boys, we're sitting together, we're having beers together, we're going to get through this together. And we kept to ourselves. We really didn't get involved in the Slowpitch drama, which I think actually for a lot of people thought we were dicks. Like I think a lot of teams thought all the Naturals were a bunch of bricks, but really what it was is we felt early on that if we were going to compete against the O's 705 at the time, we didn't have the budget to attract. We didn't have the pedigree to attract. So we figured if we're going to win, we're going to win by being tight, by believing in each other. Like when we medaled as a bronze medalist, like if you look at that roster, there was better guys at every position in Super Series, right? But we got it done. Right. So,
well, let's talk about that Canadians experience, because I mean it almost never happened, right? I mean, let's talk about you having this host tournament. You guys are an A team playing in a little host tournament event, and you almost came up short against the C team. Let's talk about that process and how you were able to sneak your way into Canadians that year.
We had a 3-team host tournament. It was back when they still had the host. It was us, Hurricanes, and Bandits, White Shirt Bandits, which was the C team. I think we had a round robin. We ended up first, so we got a bye to the finals. I think the Bandits beat the Hurricanes, and I could have this totally wrong. I'm not great with slow pitch memories, but we ended up playing the Bandits, and I can't remember if they beat us the first game or this was the first game, but in the game that mattered, they were up, say 2-1, 3-1. We were playing on Diamond 1. Wind was like howling in. The Naturals have never had a ton of power. We've had power, but not Orioles or Aftershock type power. And we were not playing well. And it's kind of like, holy shit, is this about to happen? And then all of a sudden the wind just basically stopped. Like it was like for an inning, it stopped. I think we scored 6 or 7 runs, and literally held on to get it was like, I think when it was all said and done, it was like, wow, that was way more close than it should have been, or, we wanted it to be, I guess. But all the power to the Bandits, right? I think that's a great thing about slow pitch, right? If you can get on a roll, you can win.
Yeah, anything's possible. So you guys win this little host tournament. Team must have felt pretty good, because I mean, you're fresh off of playing for the Hurricanes. You're with your new team, the Naturals. You get to beat those guys. Your former team. How did that feel?
Yeah, pretty good. I put a year in with the Hurricanes, and they came to me through email actually and said, "Hey, we're going to go a different direction at third. We appreciate it." I appreciate them getting me back in the game. But I was driving from Toronto to hit BP with the guys. I tried everything to do to be a good teammate, and I was disappointed on how it ended with them, because if they had stuck with me, I probably would have stayed with them. I'm a pretty loyal guy. But in the background, the natural talk was happening, so it kind of all worked out. And I think that year too, Brad Summers, who was an original natural, he came over from the Hurricanes as well. So there was 2 of us from the Hurricanes that jumped ship. And then, we won that host tournament that year. And I don't know if it was that year or the year. I'm trying to dates are. I can't remember.
That particular year, if I'm not mistaken, the host tournament was actually the same year as when we were the Canadians. I don't know why it was, but that's what's just coming to my head right now. But let's talk about your first Canadians. It's 2011. You're playing in your hometown of London. Your parents literally live down the road from Slowpitch City. All the majority of the guys are, London, Woodstock, and Dorchester. And talk about any of the pickups that you made to be able to compete. Did you guys actually pick anybody up?
I don't know if we did. I would have to look at a picture, to be honest. I think, we picked up Longer. We had Brooksy was coaching with Roscoe. They were both players on the team at the time. Right. And they were kind of running the team kind of up until that point. And then I think Chuck made the right move. He thought bringing in a coach to kind of stabilize things, to keep everybody kind of focused on the game. It's tough to be a player coach, I think.
Especially at the A level. It's very difficult.
Right? So he brought in Longer for that. I remember that. But I think it was pretty much our guys. I would have to – I'm terrible at this, Woody. I apologize. But where I think we actually, I don't know if it was game 1 or game 2. We were at Diamond 7 playing Quebec 2, and we came back and we walked them off. And I think that walk off kind of was like, okay, we can do this. Like, we can compete with the best. And I think we scraped into, I can't remember if we scraped into double life or we only had single life, but we beat the Oilmen to get to Pharmapar or whatever they were that year. And that was the last year we swang ASA, and you supplied your own bats. So we were pretty naive. We had, I can remember asking guys in league, hey, do you have an ASA bat? What do you have? Can I borrow it? Like, guys, that was our team. Like, we were scraping to get kind of product. We go against the French, and they've got 40 recoils on the fence, and they're only using 2 of them.
What are you saying?
Well, they changed the rule after the tournament, so I think they, as has been said on other shows, this was needed in the game.
Oh, huge thing, right? So, first Canadians, you guys, if I'm not mistaken, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that you guys had double life. I think the top 4 teams were Orioles, PT Bruins, Transat, and Alberta. And I think those are the top 4. I think we played against Alberta or PT in the first game. We ended up beating them, and then we played against Transat in the end of Transat in the undefeated game, beat them, and then they went down. I think they ended up beating you, and you guys would have got Alberta probably in your second game.
Yeah, and I think we might have even played PT. Maybe that was the round robin.
Yeah, maybe.
They should have beat us.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that PT team was really good that year as well.
We beat them on Diamond 7, and I struck out Scotty Watson, which we still laugh over beer every time we see each other because it was an illegal pitch.
Did you catch him with a 5-foot heater?
Yeah. So
to
be honest, I think that was the year. You get that first taste of the Canadians, and I think that's the difference too. Once you get that taste of playing in the Canadians and 10 days of waking up, BP, play, eat, BP, play, dinner with the team. Like, once you get that in your system, that's all you want to play for. Like, and to be honest, I was talking to Hef earlier tonight, talking to people. Like, that's really the only reason some of us are still going, right? Is you want to play at least 1 or 2 more Canadians if you can.
Well, that kind of brings me to my next point. I mean, we haven't been able to go for 2 years, right? Canadians last year's canceled because of COVID. They've canceled it for this year. They're talking about some showcase thing that, who knows what that's going to be like. But, our Naturals team is not a bunch of young whippersnappers when it comes to the age, average age of players playing on a team. I mean, most of our guys are late 30s, early 40s. What do you think, is like? I know what it's like for me to balance family and being able to go out and play on the weekend, but like, how do you balance family and playing competitive softball?
I'm lucky the fact that my parents live in Dorchester. So right. When and now I live in Cambridge now, so I'm only 40 minutes down the road, and I can sleep in my own bed at night. And up until I was saying this to Hef earlier, is if we don't play until August, I'll have 2 kids, and since the last time I've seen some of the guys on the Naturals, like there's a lot that's happened, right? So my last game with the Naturals was the Saturday in September on the 7th. I played the Saturday mid-morning game, and then I left. My wife got induced. We had the baby the next day, and I haven't seen the guys since. Right? And then COVID basically hit. So
September of 2019 was the last time that we've really seen anybody. It's crazy to think about. Wow.
It's wild. So I've always been lucky that my parents are there, right? And pre-kids, it was, when I met my wife, I kind of told her about this crazy competitive slow pitch thing that I do, and she didn't really understand it. I don't think most wives would probably understand it until they see it, and then they probably kind of laugh at us behind our back because it is its own kind of world, to say the least. But she knows that I love it. She knows that I love getting together with the guys. It gives me a competitive outlet. So she totally supports it for sure. So I'm lucky that my wife totally supports me 100%. My parents are there. So even now with my son Bo, I'm looking forward to playing because I can bring him to the diamond. Nana and Papa can look after him. You can see the natural, the family kind of atmosphere that the Naturals have, but it is a balance, right? Because, and let's be honest, for 2 years now, golfing is pretty attractive. You get to choose who you golf with. You get to choose when you golf. I think if there wasn't, if we didn't have a Canadians berth or looking down the barrel of a berth, I don't know how many of the Naturals would come back. But I think right now, there's enough competitiveness in us and enough. I think we got a good team. I think we've made some really good pickups, and I think we're going to be right in the mix this year if we play this year, right?
Yeah, and it's still up in the air. I mean, SPO announced some dates last week, and they're tentative, but who knows what's going to happen with it, right? So, let's bounce back to Canadians. Let's talk about the success they had in year one, where you rip a bronze medal. How do you guys change from there? Like, what did you guys do next? What was the next thought process in game plan to go? Okay, we just got a bronze medal. We got luck. Like we almost didn't qualify to get here. We got a bronze in our first Canadians. Like, okay, like we're close. Like, what do we got to do?
You know what? Like again, if you look at our roster back then, like Nebel, who's arguably one of the top hitters in Canada, he was just starting out. He was our shortstop or second baseman. Cloudy in his second Canadians bat 760, right? Pia Warchuk, I would argue, is one of the best defensive shortstops in the game. He's as good as anybody, I think. Chucky's at third. Mitch Latimer's at first. We picked up Pinnell to play in Leduc with us, which is again one of the best in Canada. Our outfielder, Taylor Winkler, again unsung, got very little credit, but as good as they come as an outfielder. Half underrated, run like a deer, right? Like, and then left field, I'm trying to think who our left fielder was. Summers played there. Like, we weren't, if you look at our lineup, we weren't the most talented, especially, and we weren't the most recognized slow pitch team. You know what I mean? When we were having our success, we were fairly young and we were fairly unknown. Like, I think, none of our guys had bad deals. If they did, they were, I think Mike had maybe threw, Chuck a couple bats, right? And maybe the team got a set of hats out of it. Like, we weren't your how it is now with all these guys being sponsored and stuff like that. That wasn't us. And it hasn't never really been us, right? And so when we went to Leduc, like, we picked up Pinnell, we picked up Meps, and Meps really at the time he was playing B, I think, on Beetle's team. Beetle came out to Canadians to help longer at Leduc, but Meps, I don't even think Meps really played that week, right? And then, to be honest, we rode 12, 13 guys, and we got out. We should have won Leduc. Like, we had 2 chances to win it. We got double dicked, right? So we liked our roster. We were, again, I go back to that culture, that chemistry. We held each other accountable. We believed in each other, and we were friends. Like, we knew each other's wives, girlfriends. We said hello to them. We invited them over. Like, it was And I used to say this to people, that stuff matters. Like when you can't go out and get the best guy, because some of the bigger teams with bigger names, sponsorships, on the Naturals, you pay $400 and everybody pays. and I know when we brought in a couple guys, they asked, well, what are you going to give them? Well, you're going to get a jersey and a hat like everybody else, and you pay $400. Like, we're from London, you can sleep on somebody's couch. And Chuck's done that. Like, Chucky's put up guys for 10 years now in his house. I put up, Davey Drouillard for a long time. Matt Barrett stayed with me for a long time, right? Like, that's kind of how our team's kind of operated since day one, right? So when we won that bronze to get to Leduc, I think it was just the momentum of what we had going. Like, it was, we got good pieces. Let's just, if we all perform, we can do this. And I think we believed it too.
What, I've never been double dipped in a Canadian championship before. So let's circle back to Leduc. And you talked about, having the players that you had in Pinnell. I think one, you might have, you also had Steele Lewis on the team as well.
No.
Oh, you didn't have Steele that year? Oh, who was Steele with?
He was
the BB&E.
Combat.
Yeah, he was the BB&E. My bad. Yeah. But you have a guy like Pinnell who's off the charts talented.
Yeah.
And that to me was where he really started to take the game at a whole new level, because he was always a good player, but he was content playing with buddies. And then all of a sudden he realized, holy moly, like, this is amazing.
I think for a while, I remember when we picked up Pinnell, he was swinging like an Easton slow pitch bat that you would buy at Canadians or at like Canadian Tire.
Yeah.
Like, literally, I think he was like, it was like, and then when you put something like a Mikan in his hand, it was like, okay, this is not right. Like, he's just so strong.
Strong, yeah, super strong.
And that, like, I'm trying to think, he might have played with us in London too. Now that I think about it, because I'm pretty sure he played in Leduc. Oh no, he played with us in the Yukon, wherever the hell that was.
Whitehorse, yeah.
Whitehorse, yeah. No,
in terms of the double dipping, you guys are the team to beat. You have a great week. You're in the finals. A team like the Orioles, we lose in that game to get back to the championship. I was on that team, and the Oilmen were hitting it like crazy, and we had a slugfest. I think we lost by 2 or 3 runs to them, but we were down big, made it a little bit of a game. But then, you end up not seeing the Orioles in the finals, which is a team that has always had your number. It's a team that you guys, for the most part. So in your minds, are you thinking, oh, great, this is in the bag. We're playing the Oilmen, not the Orioles. Oh, this is awesome. Was that something that went through your head?
Probably not. To be honest, that week we played the O's in the round robin game, and I'm pretty sure we mercied them then. Like, we had a really good week in Leduc near this, like, in some big games. Like, I think I'm pretty sure we mercied the O's on the back diamond one night. And then we actually needed help to get double life. So that, and again, we always talk about baseball gods, and I think that might have sealed our fate. O's played syndicate, or not O's, Oilmen played syndicate. And if syndicate wins, we get double life. And they hadn't, that year, I don't think syndicate had beat the Oilmen. Well, what happens? They beat them. So Pinnell delivers a case of beer onto the field, into their huddle, right? So we said we were going to do it. Pinnell brings it out, drops it in the middle of the huddle. Thank you. We get double life. We played Pharma Park. So I think we were the 4th double. Like, I think we were ranked 4th. We played Pharma. We beat them, and I think we beat them, like, comfortably. We played you guys and beat you guys 16-1. I think the only run that you got was off solo. And so we felt good. Like, and we were hitting it, and we felt good. And you know what, though? I don't know if looking back, did you actually think you're about to win a gold medal, right? Like, because with our team, you probably at the start of the week, I don't think the Naturals were on anybody's radar to win the gold, right? So we get up on I was trying to figure this out tonight. I can't remember what game, but we had the Oilmen in a mercy situation. Like we should have won in a mercy the first game or the second game. And Pennell hits a ball 8 feet off the ground that hits the O-ring. And if it drops in, Hef's on first base, scores, and the game's over. Like we win in a mercy. It pops up and lands on the other side of the fence. It's a out. And they come back. I think they tie us. We go to extra innings and they end up scoring a bunch. We don't. So that's game one. Game two, we get or that could have been game two. I tried to block it out of my mind. It hurt for a lot of years because you're so close, and really since then we haven't got that close. Like we had a good run in Lethbridge. We went, I think, 8-0 to start the tournament, and then I think lost 3 straight, and we're done. And I think we played Quebec 1. They scored 26 runs in the first inning on us. Yeah. Yeah, it's not a good sign when your starting pitcher gets pulled after 15 and then comes back in the same inning.
So you talk about baseball gods because you said Syndicate gets a win over the Oilmen, which in Alberta that's an upset. You mentioned that Pennell and the rest of the team goes over, hands a case of beer to Syndicate for helping you get double life, and I guess it comes back twofold and. The baseball guys kick you in the balls and says, no, you're not having a gold. You got a silver for buying Syndicate a case of beer.
Yeah. I remember I got hit by, who's the center fielder for the Oilmen there? Jeremy. Jermaine. He hit me in the leg in the calf that I remember the next day. It looked like, I'm a big boy to begin with. It was like this. We were walking around West Edmonton Mall. I could barely walk. I shouldn't have flown home probably. It hurt. And back then, you're naive. I wore I think soccer shin pads. It's not like today where guys strap up with full goalie gear.
Yeah, we're not goalie. We weren't wearing goalie gear back then.
No. To be honest, I think I was one of the first guys that wore any kind of head protection. I wore one of those little wire rip-it masks.
Yep, you were.
I remember.
He's wearing.
Just saying, hey.
He's getting chirped. He's wearing a mask. Oh, why is the guy wearing a mask? What a puss.
Yeah, for sure. And to be honest, and then I think I was one of the first to actually put on a lacrosse bucket too.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely were an innovator when it came to that. I mean, I know for the longest time I was like, no, I'm not wearing a mask to pitch. I'm not doing this. And then I don't remember who it was, but somebody whizzed one above my head, and I'm like, holy, this game has changed so much.
Yeah.
And I'm not a young guy anymore. It's time to.
I think what else changed it was when Sutz, who's arguably in Canada the best defensive pitcher and had that reputation, when he got hit, I think guys went, oh shit, this is this could hurt somebody, right? And
100%.
Yeah,
well, I couldn't agree more. Leduc is a soft spot. Great experience. Obviously, the team hasn't had the same level of success since 2013. For 5 seasons, you're still there. You're going. You're always one of the teams out of Ontario. You're always qualifying. Just haven't got over that hump to have that same level of success. You've mentioned earlier the team's made some good pickups. It's unfortunate Canadians are canceled again. But hopefully the showcase that they're talking about doing in Ontario in the end of September kind of comes to fruition.
Yeah, you know what? We've been proud of what we've done as a Naturals group. We went. I think this is year 12 of us together, and we missed the Canadians' birth by 1 point twice in back-to-back years. When I would say everybody thought we were going to blow up. Everybody's like, okay, where's Cloudy gone? Where's, Hef gone? And it never happened. And to be honest, I think we all knew it wasn't. And the reality is we've only lost 5 guys from the Naturals to other teams once they've joined us. So anybody that's ever played for us, they're they're with us until either they don't play any longer or they, and only 5 guys that's ever happened to us. Right. So that's something that we're really proud of, I think, to kind of stand behind it. At men's A, it doesn't happen. Does not happen.
You're not wrong about that. 2 years of Canadians, the bronze and the silver. You've had some. You mentioned Nebel, but I mean, Cloudy was lights out in Leduc, like lights out. 736. Border battle has started since 2009. All right. Has there ever been a natural to ever play on the border battle team?
The big one? No.
The big one. And,
so
why do you think
the talk after the bronze medal and kind of the rumor, the discussion was not enough experience, not good enough, right? But then you go back to back with medals, and you've beaten those guys, and and we were doing really well in Ontario too. Like we were, it's the O's have always won. Like I can't remember the last eliminations they lost. They've won that, so they don't always have to play a full schedule. The Naturals always have, but we've always been, in that top 2, top 3 position in Ontario. And back then, that's 10 years ago, we were arguably the best. Like I would put our team against the O's. Like they had more talent, but we were giving them tough games, and we ended up beating them sometimes, and like we had confidence to beat them. They won some big games against us. Like it took us a while to beat them in a tournament final. It took us a while to beat them in the Canadians, but we were doing it. I felt bad for guys like Cloudy at the time, Nebel. Like Cloudy at that time was, 760 in the Canadians. If you do that wearing a different jersey or from a different province, I think you're probably on that team, no problem.
Well, he won the batting title, did he not?
He could have. Yeah. He could have. Now,
So,
a bunch of the guys had played for the second team. I think Chuck played. I think Cloudy did. Nebel did. I don't know if Nebel was still with us at that point. Foisey did, I think, at one point. Foisey came to us. He's not with us anymore. He's not playing anymore. I think he was on the big team 1 year. Yeah. No, yeah, I think but again, I go back to that point. We've never been a team that's in the softball drama or political world of softball. And there's lots of that goes on. I think we've kind of done our own thing. We don't have money behind our team. We don't have, for the long time, we didn't even have a coach, I would think if you were to ask some of the guys at that time, do you think they should have got a nod? For sure. I think there's an argument there for sure. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. The one guy that I really took notice to was Pio. I got to play with him in like one of those against Canada. I think we made a little all-star team at Slowpitch City, and we played against him in exhibition games. At that time, I wasn't on Team Canada. I was on this SPO All-Stars, and I played. And I think Pio made so many plays just defensively, and I went, "Oh my God, like this guy's legit." But again, you didn't have a professional marketer to market your players to everybody. Your marketing campaign for the Naturals is always "mum's the word." We're going to just do our thing, stay quiet, and don't get involved in social media platforms and involved in banter and BS with other teams. And a lot of people, like you said, maybe thought you were jerks because you didn't want to be in that social circle of everybody else in the sport. And, there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what? No, mum's the word. We're not going to get involved in that. And I think that if some of the other guys were, on Facebook posting, hitting videos and showing how far they hit it and, oh, look at this bat and this. I mean, yeah, guys like Cloudy and Nebel probably would have got on to Team Canada sooner. I mean, Nebel is arguably one of the best hitters in Ontario. And, he eventually got there, which he rightfully deserved. But a guy like Cloudy, I mean, I never really got to see didn't really remember Cloudy a whole heck of a lot, but being able to play as a teammate of his and just watch him go, I mean, holy man, for a guy who's the size of what he is and how far he hits the ball is just, it's astonishing to me. Like, it's crazy.
I would also say he's one of the guys on our team that holds guys accountable. So and I think that also what you were saying, Woody, that the Naturals have been around for 12 years because we have kept everything in-house. So if there's enough core guys that go, sorry, that's not what we do here. If you want to do that, that's probably not the guy that we want anyway. We're not really going to bring that to our team, right? We've had to make adjustments to stay competitive for sure. We brought in guys that, probably didn't fit the mold of a Naturals, but have been great teammates for sure when we got them and when we had them for sure. So yeah.
you got to play Home Run Sports team in the Kitchener Border Battle, correct?
Yeah, I was Hef and I were on that team. I think it was just the two.
And I mean, you got to beat the select group because I was on the select team and you guys beat us, and it was a great game. And Greg Wire killed it, and so many good players. What was your experience like? How did you like it? Did you play a lot? Like, what was your thought on the whole kind of?
Yeah. So at the time, it was Kyle from Aftershock. Him and I pitched. I think he got the U.S. Futures game, and I got the Canada Select game. I'm trying to remember who pitched the big against the big team, but we had the big team close. Like we didn't get blown out. I don't think we might have got blown out late. Now that I think of it, but playing against the Select, I think when you're in those situations, there's pride that you belong. Like you feel like, hey, you know what? And really, the Team Canada teams, they're in a no-win situation. They know basically all the guys they're playing, and you're now playing an all-star team out of Ontario that, and at that park in Kitchener, it's 310 fences, so the power, it's not like you're playing in a stadium. So, and it's slow pitch at the end of the day too, right? So. Yeah, what was impressive though is playing against the U.S. They're just so good. I think I can't remember if it was the second team or the first team that had the U.S. on the ropes, and Bellefontaine grounder to Bellefontaine at short, and they called him safe at first, and then they scored about 26 runs without hitting a home run.
Yeah. It was gross. I mean, we got the first out of the inning because
but you had him on the rope.
Denny Crine ripped one off my almost my guts and rearranged my insides, and fish out of the water. We throw him out. Next batter hits a piss missile to Bellefontaine. He makes a great play, and he double pumps, and the umpire calls him safe.
Yeah.
And I mean, to this day, it is what it is. It was a bang, bang, close play. But then the next batter hits a fly ball to left field, which Mike Hook was playing. And for whatever reason, he lost it. Didn't know where the ball was. I mean, we could have been 3-3 down in that, and the game's over. Because we're only down a run, and we've got home runs in the bank.
Yeah.
And we would have came in the bottom of the seventh, and I had a chance. But that top of the seventh was a nightmare inning after we gave them some life. And you can't give a team like that life at all. And but what an experience. I really enjoyed playing at Kitchener. I thought that the fans were out in full force.
Wicked atmosphere, playing against the best in the world. It's that was the year that Europe came over to experience what Slowpitch was really like.
Poor guys.
I did feel bad for them. They're good guys, though, right?
Yeah, great guys. But
all the U.S. guys too, I think, were good guys. You know what I mean? They kept it out of the middle. they really, for the most part.
Unless they were down and needed a base.
Then it got serious. But
it
was it's for sure a highlight for sure of mine, and And at that time, you're thinking, hey, I think at that time, Team Canada pitchers were Skip and maybe who's the guy from out west?
Chris Parr.
Parr, right?
Yeah.
And to be honest, and I was naive. I didn't know how good Parr is. Like, it was only that guy can play. Like, I didn't know how good his bat was. His bat is ridiculous.
Yeah, he's a talent for sure. We mentioned coaches. I mean, back in the day, it was Brooksy and Roscoe kind of running things, and then I know your dad was involved in helping out, and then you brought in Longer.
Yeah.
What was that? Like, I know the Yardmen were done, but like, how did that transition happen? How did Chuck, not convince Longer to come and coach, but I mean, Longer loves the game, but how did that situation come about? Like, how did Chuck come up with that?
So I think Chuck, I don't think Chuck really liked being part player, part coach. I think, if he was to be truthful, he kind of, I think, was kind of done with it. He then, when we had Brooksy and Roscoe running it, he also felt like they suffered by doing it, right? Like their play suffered. So we brought Longer to the Canadians, and I'm pretty sure by the Canadians, the Yard had already kind of said they're like, I don't think they were in a position to qualify. So they were kind of done. And then we had a team meeting. We talked about it, and I think Longer had expressed interest. I think he's I think the Naturals have always played the game the right way, I think, for the most part. Like, yep. I know other guys would argue that we haven't. They probably argue that I argue with too many umpires and we question too many calls. But I think that's just my competitive nature of trying to win, or we try to
get an edge.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to get an edge, but I think Longer respected what we were doing, because I think, we weren't involved in all the slow pitch BS. We weren't, for the most part, I think we played the game the right way, or we do still play the game the right way. I think he saw that, and then he saw that in the Canadians, and I think he really enjoyed himself. So he kind of came over, and I think he gave us a lot of legitimacy. Like, from going to Canadians out of province, and all of a sudden a guy like Jeff Long is your coach that's been around the game, and he chose a bunch of young kids to be around, like, that says something, right? Because he could have went other places, I'm sure, right? Like, there's lots of teams that would have taken the Jeff Long on their roster for sure.
100%. I mean, Longer, salt of the earth individual, and I look forward to trying to get him on the show. I know I've bugged him, and eventually we'll get him on. I think he's a little more technology scared than anything. So
what guys don't know about Longer too is he bled Naturals for the time he was with us. Like, he agonized over roster, over wins, losses, pulling a guy, not pulling a guy. And I'll be the first to admit it. Him and I had some good discussions. Like, there was times where I thought my leash was too short, and I thought other guys was too long, and we would have those chats. And I respect Longer a lot. He was good for us, and it was too bad we couldn't get him that medal, because I think he would have. He deserved one. Really, he deserved one with us, right? Like the one in Leduc that we lost. He cried with us all, because it was a hurtful day for sure.
The beers don't taste quite as cold when you get double dipped. That's for sure.
That, honest to God, Woody, that stung for like years. Like, where like you relived it, and we didn't talk. Like, guys don't talk about it. Like, when you asked me to come on here and you said this, hey, how's that double dip? I remember I texted a couple of the core guys, and they were like, I don't know. I don't talk about that. I don't remember that. Right? And I was like, yeah. And to be honest, I think that could have been the first time a team got double dipped in the Canadian Championship. I think somebody had said that to us.
I don't know if it was a double dip. It was the first time that a team with single life ever won a gold medal at Canadians. It's never happened. That was the first. And it's crazy because those guys did it again in was it London?
I think it was in London. Did they do
wherever they won the second time in Canadians, they did it again by not getting maybe they got double life. But all I know is they had to double dip again, and they did it again.
Yeah, and again, those guys are all good guys. We always had good games and all well respected, like a good relationship off the field as well as on the field.
Good, so many talented players in that team. Mosey, if there's other than the double dip situation, if there's one thing that you could see change in this game, I mean, I know it's been almost a year and a half since we've been able to play, but if there's one thing that you would love to see change, what would it be?
That's a tough one, Woody. Again, being out of it, you know what? I would love to see some of those B teams come up and stick it out.
Yeah.
So you grow that A division in Ontario, really. Like, if you think about it, it's been a 4, 5, 16 race, right, for a long time. And, like, you think about, I said this the other day, I was golfing actually with Hooper and Chappie, who's, if you know who Chappie is. Mm-hmm. And I said that Diamondback team that came up from B, you played on it. Then that team, if you kept that team together right now, they would be knocking on the door of going to Canadians, if not already being there. Like, but again, it's that patience, that pick up one or two guys. You know, it's hard to do. You really got to trust in everybody staying put, right? Being loyal to the team, right? And, you know, loyalty in Slowpitch is pretty few and far between. Like, it's funny. I always say, like, in men's beer league hockey, unless I'm missing it, the first guy that pays is the captain of the team, right? And, like, have you ever cut a guy from a beer league hockey team?
Not if they have the dough to play.
Yeah. Guys in men's Slowpitch get cut. Like, to me, it's I don't know. It's kind of I think I was saying, when I'm done playing, I want guys to go, hey, he was a decent pitcher, but he was a good guy, and he was competitive. He was a good teammate, loyal. That to me matters. A gold medal would be nice, but at the end of the day, there's more to life than men's A Slowpitch to me.
Well, you're not wrong about that, and I mean, this game is an awesome game, and it's so much fun to play. When you're there for the weekend, it's great to check in and just be an athlete and as best as you can. And I
love it.
Those competitive juices flowing, but you know, when you go back to work on Monday, you know, it's over, and you know, you don't have to worry about anything for another couple of weeks, right? You just live your life.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, that's kind of the natural's way. I think there's, like, guys put in work, but we don't put in the work that some of the other teams do, and that's probably why they have more success. You know, but that each their own. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. Mosey, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show this week. It's been awesome. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. It's amazing how fast an hour can fly by. Just shooting the breeze about the sport. I look forward to taking the field with you if we can ever get there again. Congratulations on the Bambino and the other one that's coming.
Thank you, Woody. It was a pleasure being here, and appreciate you asking me. Outside my comfort zone. This is not something that I would normally do. I actually had to ask P.O. for permission.
Did you really?
Oh, I definitely sent him a message. He said, yeah, you got to do it. He's a teammate.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, thanks,
P.O. I didn't need a fine.
Yeah, well, those are definitely easy to come by with some of the rules and regulations that come with being a natural. But you know, when you've got you know, Sergeant Pio on your team, there's no slacking. It's it's a great group of guys to be a part of, and you know, I'm thankful that I'll get to wind down my softball career as a player with such a tremendous group of guys. So appreciate your help. facilitating that for myself personally and House. I owe that both to you guys. So thank you for that.
Yeah, we'll miss Hauser now that he's an East Coaster, right? But we're excited. The pickups that we have, we feel like we got better, and it'll be exciting to get back on the field if we do this year for sure.
Absolutely, looking forward to it. Mosey, thanks a lot. You have a great night. We'll chat with you offline.
Thanks, Wade.
All right, that was Mosey, one of the top pitchers in the A game, and my teammate. Happy to be able to share the field with the guy. Lots of great stories about the Naturals program and how it all came about, and some of the trials and tribulations and the highs and lows. It's amazing the sport and all the different opinions and how things transpire. But it was a great interview, and I'm thankful that he was able to do it. For AmateurSport.tv, I'm Ryan Wood here on World Softball TV every Tuesday night. Looking forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks a lot for your time.